In the spring of 1922, on a quiet farmstead deep in the Bavarian countryside, 6 people were murdered in one of the most chilling and mysterious crimes in German history. The family had reported strange noises in the attic, missing keys, and unexplained footprints in the snow in the weeks before their deaths. Yet when the killings came, they were carried out with such precision and brutality that the case has baffled investigators for more than a century. Was it a vengeful neighbor, a drifter passing through, a hidden intruder who had been living among them, or even the family's own dark secrets coming to light? This is the story of the Hinterkaifeck Murders, an unsolved mystery that still refuses to rest.
Hello, friends and family. Welcome back to another episode of Weekly Bazaar. I'm Montana.
I'm too sexy for my shirt, too sexy for my shirt. Jessica.
Yes, if you get on YouTube, she's topless. Anyway, if you're new here, welcome. We've been waiting for you.
Where have you been? Why are our intros and outros always so freaking awkward? Like, you would think that we have this down by now, but we don't. Yes, hello, new people. This is what we do every week. Get used to it.
And when we talked before, we're super serious with each other, and then it's like, once it starts rolling, we're not.
We cannot be serious.
I don't understand.
Yeah, I don't either. We'll figure it out someday.
But I got a really creepy mask.
Yeah, that was a nice trick that you played on me there.
I'll post it to social media.
Yeah.
It's a really creepy mask. And I'm so mad. So Ryan and I went thrifting yesterday. That's where we got the mask. And it's just a very creepy mask.
Oh, that's when you got it.
Mm-hmm.
And you found some really creepy shit yesterday.
Yeah, I posted a video on social media of something that Ryan found, and I took a video of it because I have no idea what it is. So if someone can get on and explain to me what that thing was, I'd like to know.
Yeah, it was very weird.
It's like, what is this thing? Did someone just... I don't even know.
Yeah, I don't know either.
So go check it out. Anyway, so I was really mad because we like to check out the Halloween decor this time of year during thrifting. And they had this little, it was fake books. There was 4 or 5 books that were together, and it was motion detected. Like when you walk by, it goes off and it makes really creepy noises, and the books will move and the books will like pull out on its own, like you're going into a secret passageway. And it was so cool. And I was so mad because I wanted it. And I was like, I think I'm going to get this. And Ryan was like, okay, well, we'll just come back to it before we leave. And then, like, I don't know, 10 minutes later, we hear the book sound. And it was in this lady's cart.
Aww.
She took it. And there's only one. There's only one of them. And I was so mad. And he's like, well, I'll just put on the mask and I'll just scare her with it into giving it to us. And I was like, no, it's fine. And so I saw the skeleton cat. And it was like in the arch position, like the hissing position. And I was like, I really like this. I'm going to add it to my collection because I have a skeleton owl, a skeleton pig, and then I have a skeleton bat, as you can see, like hanging behind me there. And so Ryan was like, I'll hold it for you. He drops it and breaks it in half.
Oh, no. Ryan.
I don't know how he did it, what he was doing. So, needless to say, he broke my pussy, okay? Not even in the good way. And
dang, if you're going to break the pussy, at least do it in a good way.
Shoot. That's what I said. By the way, we're perverted. Welcome to Weekly Bazaar.
Yeah.
So at least we got
And
the
bye
mask,
if you're not.
I guess. Yeah.
We'll see you next time.
If you're not here for sexual innuendos, adios. But we got the creepy mask he wanted, but I didn't get anything that I really wanted. I wanted those 2 things, and yeah.
Did you not get that weird thing?
The books?
No, the thing with the hole in its back.
No,
The
I'm
sculpture.
not gonna get that. That thing's probably, you know what? I could probably sell that to like Zach Baggins and be like, "Oh, hey, this has been in my family for generations."
Cursed relic.
Yeah. So
We can come up with our own story.
no, I was like, this thing is probably cursed, so I didn't get it. It's creepy.
Was...
I don't know. I don't know if it's like a candle holder that goes straight through a guy bending over. Like, I don't understand what it is.
It looks like his heart was carved out and he's bent over eating it. Is what it
Or
looked
the
like
blood
to me.
is coming out of his mouth.
Yeah, it's... I don't know.
It's
I was
weird.
looking at the YouTube comments and there was one and I can't remember what it said. It was like, it started with an I. He's like, it's the Illy...
Oh, I know what you're talking about, but I can't think of the word either.
Yeah. The Ilias or the something like that. I'm like, what is that? And I got sidetracked and didn't look it up.
I know, and someone's like, they ate too much Taco Bell.
And somebody else is like, kindergarten class. Like, if that's from somebody's kindergarten class.
If my child made that, I would be terrified, but kind of impressed at the same time.
Yeah, I don't know what I would think about that if
I'm
my
like,
kid
what
came
did
home.
you do in a past life? You creepy little child?
Yeah.
Like, I want my child to be creepy, but that's just beyond... That's like a cursed object, I'm telling you. So no, I didn't bring that into my house. I just took a video of it and was like, can someone just tell me what this is?
Yeah, it was creepy.
But
so before we start today's episode, I also feel like I need to kind of put a little disclaimer out there for people who don't like when bad things happen to children.
like a trigger warning?
Yeah, trigger warning for that. There's some pretty brutal shit that happens in this story. It's very dark, very disturbing, and unfortunately, there were children involved. So, just putting that out there.
Well, I don't have a choice. I have to listen, so.
Yeah. Well, you'll be happy to know that there is an animal that is not harmed in the story. So,
well, that's one thing at least.
yes, that is one thing.
Ugh. I'm the one that even sent you the story, too.
Mm-hmm. Did you know anything about it?
I think I listened to something so long ago, so I want to say yes, but I don't remember anything at the same time.
Okay.
Not the full in-depth, I think.
Okay. And bear with me because this is a post-work episode that we're recording, so I'm not going to be as fresh and sprightly as I am in the mornings.
But you're too sexy for your shirt.
That
was fresh.
I made a really bad shirt choice today. But hey, here we are. Okay, so today, like the intro suggested, we are talking about the Hinterkaifeck Murders, which I had never heard about until Montana was like, this might be a cool one. So I looked into it and I'm like, wow, yeah, this is a dark one. So buckle up and prepare yourselves. So our story begins at the end of March in 1922 on a small farmstead in southern Germany, several miles northwest of Munich and about a mile from the nearby town of Weidhofen stood Hinterkaifeck, and German words, so it's my turn for people to come for me today.
You love the German language.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm pushing my ear thing back because I feel like I'm in a tunnel. Okay, I can hear myself better now. The property consisted of a farmhouse, a barn, a machine shed, and several smaller structures for livestock, all arranged neatly around a cobblestone courtyard. A quiet, quaint residence that would have seemed an unremarkable place, were it not destined to become the site of one of Germany's most chilling and enduring murder mysteries. There were 6 inhabitants. At the head of the household was Andreas Gruber, aged 63, and his wife Cecilia, 71. And also, her real name is like Kazala, but she went by Cecilia, and then her granddaughter was also named Kazala, and I'm probably not saying that right. And she also went by Cecilia, but we're going to call Grandma Cecilia and the little girl Cece, because that was her nickname.
That's
Okay.
confusing.
Yeah. So yes, Andreas and Cecilia were longtime owners of the farm. Living with them was their daughter Victoria Gabriel, aged 35, who had been widowed during the First World War. Her husband Carl Gabriel was reported to have fallen in battle at Arras, France in 1914. Alongside her mother and father, Victoria raised her 2 children at the farm. Her eldest was her daughter Cecilia, which again we're going to be calling Cece, and she was 7 years old. And the youngest was her son Joseph, or Yosef, I'm not sure, who was just 2 years old.
Ugh.
Completing the household was the maid Maria Baumgartner, I think is how you pronounce that, who was 44 years old, and she had only recently begun her employment on the farm. Like literally the day of the killings was her first day.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, and when we get into the theories, I've got something that I never saw anybody talk about that I would like to bring up about that.
Is it unsolved still unsolved?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, it has never been solved who did this. And honestly, once we kind of go down that rabbit hole, I feel like any of their suspects were just very like big guesses to me. I don't know. You guys can make your own opinions, but
well, I mean, it
seemed
was
like they
you
had...
said 1922, right? So forensics weren't.
Forensics were not great.
No.
Among a lot of other bullshit that goes down. So we'll get there.
Like police dropping the ball? They never do that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, like never. So the morning of March 31st, 1922 was
my mom's birthday.
A lot of shit happens on her birthday.
I know.
And
happy
Tony's
birthday,
the 30th.
Mom. Sorry. March 30th?
Yeah. Yeah, so the morning of the 31st was clear and cold at the farmstead, and Andreas rose early to tend to his livestock, as he usually did. He moved through his chores as the day began, unaware that within hours he and his entire family would be dead. Recent weeks had been unsettling. Strange occurrences at the farmstead had left him on edge, and the normal rhythms of his cows offered some small comfort for him. Once the milking was finished, Andreas returned to the house where his family was gathered around the breakfast table. The day ahead carried particular significance. They were expecting the arrival of a new maid, Maria Baumgartner. She was to begin her service that very day, filling a role that had been vacant since the departure of the previous maid months earlier. That woman had left suddenly, claiming that there had been unnerving conditions at the house and an unease that she couldn't shake. And she comes up later in the story, I think. There was a lot of information that was a little bit confusing to me, but again, as always, I did my best. At around 11 o'clock that morning, there was a knock at the farmhouse door. Maria had arrived, accompanied by her sister, who had escorted her to the farm. Maria was welcomed inside, introduced to the family, and shown to her room so she could settle in. Her sister didn't stay. Once Maria was unpacked and oriented, she bid her farewell and made her way back to town. Unknowingly, she became the last person outside the household to see the family alive. The following day, April 1st, life at Hinterkaifeck appeared from the outside to continue as normal. But by April 2nd, the first signs of something amiss began to surface. Two traveling coffee salesmen, brothers Hans and Edward Sharapsky, stopped at the farm to take the Grubers' regular order. Oh man, I bet that coffee was so delicious.
I'm sure.
It was so fresh. After repeated knocks at the door went unanswered, they wandered briefly around the yard. The door to the machine room was open, which was unusual for the orderly household. Puzzled, they continued on to the next customer, the nearby farm of Lorenz Schlittenbauer. How am I doing?
I wouldn't know. I'm the wrong person to ask.
When asked whether the Grubers had gone away, Lorenz replied that they had not, and the brothers moved along their route. 2 days later, on April 4th, a mechanic arrived at the farm to service a food processing machine. He, too, found the farm strangely silent, with no one in sight but the family's dog, roaming freely in the yard. After waiting nearly an hour with no sign of the family, he assumed that they had left the door unlocked intentionally for his convenience. Noticing that a new lock had been fitted to the machine room door, he concluded that he had permission to proceed and began his work. After working for nearly 4 hours inside the shed, he finished up and started to head out. The yard was as empty as before, though the dog had vanished as well. But spoiler alert, he's fine.
Okay, don't lie to me.
By the 5th day, concern had begun to spread in the nearby community. Victoria's daughter, young Cece, had not been seen at school, and the family had failed to appear at church services that Sunday. Alarmed by these absences, the neighbor Lorenz decided to look into the matter. He sent his sons ahead to the Gruber farm to investigate. They returned with news. I love how he's like, man, I'm getting concerned. Hey, boys, why don't you go check on them for me?
Okay, something's wrong. Doesn't happen to me. That'd be my dad.
So they returned with the news that the farm was deserted. They had knocked, but no one answered. From within the main house, however, they heard the unmistakable barking of the dog. The sound confirmed that something was deeply wrong. If the family was gone, why had the animal been shut inside? And if the family was home, why did no one come to the door? Now, deeply unsettled by the family's absence, Lorenz went to investigate in person. There you go. He and 2 other neighbors, Jacob Sigel, which is probably not right, and Michael Pohl, made their way across the fields toward Hinterkaifeck. As they approached, the farmyard was eerily still. Every door they tried was locked tight, the silence broken only by the occasional barking of the dog from within the main house. The men first searched the surrounding fields and outbuildings, but no one appeared to be present. At last, they turned their attention to the barn. From inside came muffled noises, strange sounds that were not easily explained. With all entrances barred, the men forced their way in. What awaited them was something no one in the small community could have prepared for. Later, in his testimony, Lorenz recalled the scene, saying, quote, "I led the way toward the stable door. In front of it lay a pile of hay. I tried to step through, but something caught my foot and I stumbled against the door frame. I ignored it, but Pohl, who was walking behind me, called out, 'There's a foot.' I turned around, reached down, and pulled at it. I realized it was Andreas Gruber. As I looked closer, I saw that there were others lying upon the ground around him." End quote. Awful.
But they heard noises coming from the barn, even though the family's dead?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
Weird shit. Going
Sounds
on.
supernatural to me.
Yeah. It never really goes there. Not really.
Hmm.
But it kind of makes sense later. We'll get there.
Okay.
Well, depending on one of the theories, it makes sense. So the grisly discovery stopped them cold. Beneath the hay were the bodies of the 4 members of the household's core family: Andreas and his wife Cecilia, their daughter Victoria, and Victoria's young daughter, 7-year-old Cece. Awful. All 4 had the same horrific wound, a distinctive star-shaped fracture to the temple. Ugh. Shaken but determined to know the truth, Lawrence moved from the barn into the farmhouse itself. Inside, he found the body of the maid, Maria, in her chamber. It was her very first night there, and she too had the same fatal wound. Most tragic of all, trigger warning, was the discovery of the 2-year-old, Joseph, still lying in his crib. Unlike the others, whose skulls had the unmistakable blows of a mattock or axe, Joseph's small head had been crushed entirely.
Oh my
A
God.
brutal violence that spoke to the sheer savagery of this crime.
Jesus.
Terrible. Having uncovered the full scope of the slaughter, Lawrence returned to the yard and relayed the horrific news to the others waiting outside. The men were horrified.
Horrified?
The men were horrified.
I mean, can you imagine being the one finding at least a little boy?
No.
Like, you're going to be horrified the rest of your life. Like, that's scarring.
Completely horrified. That's going to be new merch coming out soon. Stay tuned.
Horrified.
Horrified.
Oh, Lord. Drink your coffee, miss.
Gotta wet my whistle.
That's what she said.
So, yeah, I couldn't imagine. And I'm sure these people have never seen anything remotely like this in their lives. So there's that, too.
No.
Just quiet country folk minding their own business.
I mean, the person that still went and did the work, they probably weren't expecting anything like that.
Yeah. Oh, so the men were horrified, struggling to grasp what they had stumbled upon. After a hurried discussion, they agreed that the authorities needed to be notified at once. And this is where crap just, I'm like, what in the heck, people? Come on. I gotta put my shirt back on. Hold on.
You're too sexy for it. It keeps slipping off.
Slippity. Oh, God.
You're gonna horrify me if you flash me. So I prefer not to be horrified tonight. I'll be up for hours with nightmares of Jessica's boobs.
Gee, thanks.
I know. I'm just kidding. You have a nice chest. Where are we going? Okay, moving on.
Moving on.
They called the police.
Well,
Tony, quit listening.
Well, they didn't exactly call the police. So you would think that the police would have been the first contact. But in rural Bavaria in 1922, the first step was instead to alert the local mayor.
The mayor?
I have no idea. Yeah.
What's the mayor gonna do?
Call the police, probably. I don't know. Shit. Very confusing to me. Why? And this is why things go wrong. I feel like a big part of it. So Lawrence dispatched one of his companions to do so, while he instructed his own sons to make for the nearest telephone and inform surviving relatives of the Gruber family. Word spread quickly through the surrounding countryside, and before long, neighbors and curious townsfolk began to gather at the edges of the farm, drawn by news of the terrible discovery. Lawrence did his best to maintain order, keeping the growing crowd from entering the stable or the farmhouse until officials could arrive. But with so many witnesses now present and the authorities still en route, the integrity of the crime scene was at risk.
Yeah.
Yeah. When the authorities finally arrived at Hinterkaifeck, the investigation was compromised almost from the beginning. For nearly 12 hours before the arrival, the general public had already moved freely around the property, entering the barn and even the farmhouse itself, disturbing what should have been a preserved crime scene.
This isn't like a sideshow.
I know, but again, it's like they've probably never experienced anything like this, so they were probably all like, ooh, let's go see what's going on. Let's go check it out. But why on earth would you want to see that?
No, from what you described, if someone told me that, I'd be like, let's go check it out. I'd be like, you know what? I'm just going to wait out here.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's an image, especially with the little boy, I could get out of my head.
Yeah. Yeah. And the little girl, too.
Yeah, but his seems more brutal. Like you said, his head was completely smashed. It's like,
Completely. Yeah.
what? It's like, what
Terrible.
type of person will do that?
Exactly. Like, what the heck is the motive here? What's going on? Little children like this. By the time the investigators began their work, valuable evidence had already been trampled, moved, or lost. The following day, the coroner examined the bodies and determined that the murders had taken place sometime between the late hours of March 31st and the early morning of April 1st. The weapon used was quickly identified as a mattock, a common agricultural tool kind of like a pickaxe. The Grubers owned such a tool, but it was missing from the property, its absence suggesting that the murderer had taken it with them when they fled. What was truly odd about the case wasn't the brutality of the murders, but the manner in which they were carried out. Evidence showed that the 4 family members found in the barn, Andreas, Cecilia, Victoria, and young Cece, had not been attacked simultaneously. Instead, they had been lured there one by one, which is very strange.
But that wasn't the star, like at their temple. That's not the tool you're talking about.
It was, but apparently
Okay.
when it hits the skin, it must break the skin like that or something. I don't know.
Okay,
Yeah, that confused me too, because when I was looking up photos of what a mattock is, I'm like, how could that make a star-shaped wound? I don't know,
yeah, because
but
I can't in my mind I can't picture it
me
basically.
either. Me either.
Okay, but that was the murder weapon, but that was on their farm, but is now missing.
It is now missing. They couldn't find it. Yeah.
Okay, but the
Yeah.
maid, she had the same wound, but the
But
little
she was in the
boy
house.
was the only one that had his head crushed.
Yes.
Okay,
And everybody else was a blow to the temple
gotcha.
here. Which there's just so much that's strange about this. I mean, the fact that they're lured one by one. I've got some opinions about that. I'll get into
Well, I feel
later,
like you'd
but
have to kill them in different spots for to kill someone like that because
yeah.
the reaction time, I think, would give them, I don't know, time to react basically if that's your
Mm-hmm.
murder weapon. So I wonder if the bodies were just placed like that.
That's exactly what I was thinking because most people are like they lured them there one by one, but I mean not necessarily. Maybe he just pulled them in there and was trying to hide them and like but then why would he leave a
The
couple of
maid
them?
and the little
Yeah,
boy,
like
yeah.
he whoever. But yeah, it's odd. It's odd and what they're wearing each of them is wearing is odd, which I'll get to in a minute.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So yeah, they had been lured there one by one, allegedly. Each victim was struck down as they entered, their bodies concealed under hay before the next was brought inside. And this is all speculation. I mean, how would they know that? So the sequence raised the question, how had the killer managed to lure them out individually without raising alarm? Tests later demonstrated that a human scream from inside the barn would not have carried loudly enough to the farmhouse to alert anyone indoors. Also, there were no signs of defensive wounds or panic on any of their bodies, suggesting that each victim was caught entirely by surprise, or that the family likely knew this person.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, so they wouldn't have had a reason to be afraid or defensive because they didn't see it coming.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean there's a lot going on here. Yeah, or they didn't perceive this person as a threat.
My guess is they knew the person.
Yeah. My guess is they knew them and it didn't happen in the barn. Like, I don't know where it happened, but that's where he was pulling the bodies to hide them, I think.
But if it happened in the barn, you think there'd be like blood splatter and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. And I would say like maybe it happened in their beds while they were sleeping, but again, what they're wearing would say otherwise. So we'll get there. Okay. So yes, it would explain why each person responded to the summons without hesitation and why none of them appeared fearful in their final moments. A cruel detail emerged during the examination of the bodies. Trigger warning. This is a lot. This is terrible. Young Cece had likely been the last to die. Unlike the others, she had not been killed instantly. Tufts of her own hair were found clutched in her hands and scattered in the hay around her body, suggesting that she had survived for several hours after the initial blows and in agony had pulled out her hair as she lay dying.
Aww.
So terrible. Just gives me chills. Ugh. As the investigation continued, unsettling details multiplied. In both the barn loft and the attic of the farmhouse, investigators discovered impressions in the hay, clear evidence that someone had been lying there.
Ugh.
Using the spaces as sleeping quarters.
Ew.
This discovery supported the disturbing theory that the killer or killers had remained on the property after the murders, living in the house and barns alongside the victims' corpses. And a lot of this suggests that they were there before this even happened. Like they were hiding out there.
That is possibly beyond creepy.
Which explains the noises that they heard when they first arrived, like, to the barn before they discovered the bodies. And they said they heard weird noises in the barn. It was probably somebody getting the hell out of there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the states of the bodies and the rooms offered additional insight. Andreas had been found wearing only a shirt and undergarments, while his wife and daughter were dressed in their working clothes. Cece wore only a nightshirt, and the maid Maria was fully dressed when found in her chamber. And the youngest victim, Joseph, of course, was still in his crib, asleep. So that's strange. Like, why some of them were in their night clothes. Yeah, some of them were still in their work clothes. Like, was it the morning? Was it evening when this happened?
I don't know. Maybe it was really early morning and the dad and daughter were up about to do stuff where the mom still hasn't fully awakened yet, and then maybe the maid was already up about to do stuff too. Early chores. I don't know. That's a tough one to say.
Okay, so though investigators carefully examined the bodies, they found no signs of sexual assault. So there's that. Many of the beds in the house were disturbed and unmade, suggesting that at least some of the victims had been in bed at the time of the attacks. But again, it's like, was it in the morning? Was it in the evening when they were getting ready for bed? I don't know.
Oh, true. I didn't think about that.
Yeah. The theory that the murderer stayed at Hinterkaifeck gained further weight in the days that followed. Food had been taken from the pantry. A fire had been lit in the stove as recently as the day before the bodies were discovered. The livestock had been fed, which is so weird.
What? You're gonna
Isn't that?
murder people, but you're gonna feed the animals?
And the dog, and they took care of the dog. All of
That's
this
weird.
indicated someone had assumed the daily routines of the Gruber household even after the family lay dead.
Maybe they were trying to keep up something, but they didn't realize like they would be found so soon.
I think you're exactly right. And that is speculated that they're just buying themselves time
Because if
until they
someone sees
figured
like
out.
drives by and sees like the dead cows or something, they're gonna be like, "What is going on?" They're gonna investigate. So
Yeah.
that's the only thing I
Yeah.
can think of because that's bizarre.
Weekly Bazaar. Testimony from those who had visited the farm in the days immediately after the murders added still more troubling evidence. Like the mechanic who serviced the food processing machine on April 4th had noted the disappearance of the dog during his visit. Investigators later concluded that the killer must have been inside the house while the mechanic worked outside, likely ensuring the animal was kept quiet. That's creepy as hell.
Why not kill him?
True. Yeah, I
Which
don't know.
I don't think it was him because why would he do all that work knowing like it's for nothing?
Right. Yeah, I don't think anybody ever even speculated that it was the mechanic guy.
Plus they're paying him to do that stuff, so why he's not going to kill the people that are paying him?
Yeah.
I don't even understand the motive here like to begin with. I don't get it.
Yeah, what the hell is the motive here?
I,
I don't know. Even stranger were the events reported in the weeks and months before the murders. In November of the previous year,
previous?
of the previous year, a newspaper had been discovered on the property. No one in the Gruber household had ordered it, and further inquiry revealed that the paper was only sold in Munich, which was roughly 43 miles away.
Creepy.
None. Yeah, so what the hell was that doing there? I'm too sexy for my shirt. None of the surrounding villages had ordered it either, raising the possibility that an outsider had been staying at the farm for months before the crimes occurred, which is
Ugh,
so
that is just so creepy.
cool. But how the hell? I mean, you have this Andreas, the man of the household. You would think he would know if somebody was there because he's probably, he's got his system, his daily routine down to a T,
Yeah,
probably.
but they probably know that too because they've been studying.
True. Very true. So maybe they would like leave during the day and come
They
back at
probably
night
knew
or
if he was
something.
a man of routine and
Yeah.
they study that routine, they know exactly what he's going to do, when he's going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably why they remained hidden. Or they, he, she, I don't, they, whatever, if they just remained hidden for so long because they
It.
knew the routine. Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe
Yeah.
like little occurrences over time weren't really adding up with him because he was just like, oh, that's strange, and then moved on with his life. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Like for me, I'd be like, there's someone living in my walls. Like I would immediately go to someone stalking me, but
Yeah.
my
Yeah, I
guess
think
he
I would
wasn't
too.
thinking that.
Yeah, and you'd have to be pretty good at doing that with all those eyes that could possibly see you. Five technically people because the baby wouldn't know, but five people that could spot you at any given point in day or night. So
And I
they
wonder
had to
what,
know the
yeah, and
routines.
with the maid was there for one day. So I wonder if she threw off the routine and that's when they were like, okay, let's just go for it. Like what made him do it that night or morning?
I didn't think about that. I did think about the fact that she had been there that day and this happened to happen on the day she shows up, but I thought maybe it was more along the lines of like maybe she had some beef that she brought with her, like somebody was
Oh,
looking for her and just took out the whole family. Because clearly, whoever this was, if they knew this family, I just can't imagine like who could do that to children that they know. Like it's just so brutal, but I could see it being more like somebody who didn't have any connection to them to be able to do that to those kids. But
that's also very true.
yeah, I don't know. But it is strange that the day that she shows up, this shit happens. Like,
And
what?
I'm not really a coincidence person, but maybe it was just really bad timing on her part.
Yeah, super bad timing. So, equally disturbing was the testimony of the Gruber's former maid, who had left her employment several months earlier. In her police interview, she revealed that her reason for leaving was her belief that the house was haunted. She and members of the family had often heard unexplained noises in the attic, specifically footsteps.
Wait, so
So
this was
on
the maid prior to the new maid?
Yeah,
Okay.
and she'd been gone for months. So there
Okay.
were months that went by that they didn't have a maid. And
Okay,
then
gotcha.
Maria comes in and poof, everybody's dead.
Okay, so previous maid, got it.
So they weren't just hearing noises in the barn, like it was in the house too.
Ugh. Which is even more creepy.
Yeah.
No wonder she thought it was haunted.
Yeah.
And I feel
Though
like houses
Andreas,
back then, because my house is older than what you said, you hear everything.
mm-hmm.
So I can hear someone really easily walking upstairs. So I didn't mean to interrupt you. That's just like really creepy
No, it's
thinking
okay.
about it. But I live in a very old house and you hear everything.
Yeah, every board creaks, every nail squeaks when like because everything is nailed in
Literally,
old houses.
literally.
Like screws weren't really a thing back then, so every nail that gets starts to get loose or whatever just creaks and squeaks and
You hear everything.
everything. I was just going to make fun of myself for the
Dude,
words I just used, but hey, you guys can
everything.
make fun of me. Creaks and squeaks. I don't
It's
think
horrified.
screeks is squeak a word.
Skreek? Like shriek and creak at the same time?
I think I just made my own word. We'll go with
You're making your own words all throughout this episode.
it. Though Andreas Gruber had searched the attic several times, he reportedly found nothing. Her claims were later corroborated by seasonal workers and neighbors who recalled that the family had spoken of similar disturbances. Neighbors also recounted a chilling incident that had taken place only days before the murders. Andreas Gruber had discovered 2 sets of footprints in freshly fallen snow leading from the forest directly to the machine shed on the property. What struck him as strange was that while the tracks clearly came from the woods, there were no footprints returning to the woods. Which,
Oh.
ew.
Well, so does that kind of indicate there was at least 2 of them?
Seems like it to me. And it would make sense because there were so many killed. It would be easier to do if you had more than one person.
Yeah, that does make sense. Maybe
Yeah.
someone in the house at the same time, and well, it was just one weapon. I don't know. Just sounds like they work together.
Allegedly, one weapon. I
Allegedly,
mean,
yeah.
who really knows because they never figured this shit out. So I feel like they're grasping at straws a lot. Okay, so the lock on the shed had also been broken, yet nothing appeared to have been stolen. And that's another strange thing about this. We'll keep going. The final detail came from Cece's classmates. On March 31st, the very day of the murders, she'd told friends at school that her mother, Victoria, had fled the house the previous evening following a violent argument. The nature of the argument was unclear, as was the identity of the person whom she had argued with. but she was later found by neighbors wandering in the nearby woods before returning home. Did she know something?
She having an affair?
I mean, she was widowed. She needed to get the D, man.
Oh, that's right, because she lived with
Maybe
her
she.
parents. That's right. I was
Yeah.
thinking Andreas was the dad for some reason, but it was the grandparents.
Oh, we'll get there. Things get
Ugh,
even
you keep
more
saying
twisted.
that. Ugh.
Yeah, it never ends with the story. Initially, investigators believed robbery might have been the motive. The Gruber family was widely known to be relatively wealthy, and rumors circulated that they kept a large amount of cash and gold hidden on the property. Yet when the farmhouse was thoroughly searched, police discovered that the money was still there, untouched. The presence of these valuables effectively ruled out financial gain as the motive for the killings. So, again, it's like, okay, if it
What
wasn't
is the motive?
financially motivated, I don't know.
And they would have had time to search because they were alone with the dead body, so they would have had time to find the money if the police could find it.
Yeah. I know more about this than you do, so I'm kind of just keeping some things to
That's
myself until
fine.
we get there.
I'm trying to
But because
work
I
through
want to
my
hear
own
you.
brain out
That's what
loud,
I
trying to
want.
like figure out.
That's the beauty of when one of us doesn't know the story. We can kind of do that. So, yeah. But again, like all these same things were rolling through my brain as I was doing the research. I'm like, and then you get further into the story and shit just gets weirder and weirder. So the police began to widen their scope. If it wasn't robbery, then perhaps the crime was rooted in something more personal, a grudge, a vendetta, or a matter of family relations. Interviews with locals made it clear.
But to add to that, all of them besides the little boy was the most brutal murder. They were all killed the same. So I feel like if it was a passion type of crime, one of the victims would have been the most slaughtered. Like I don't know what word to use for that. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, like one would have been the main target, so that probably would have been they would have taken out more aggression on that one.
Yeah, so that also doesn't really make sense.
You're right, it does not. Which is why, again, like even after you know all the information, it still doesn't make any sense. It really doesn't. So interviews with locals made it clear that the Gruber household was not without controversy, and this scrutiny led to a closer look at the family itself.
Oh.
Buckle in. At the head of the family stood Andreas Gruber. By most accounts, he was a difficult man, stern, controlling, and harsh. Neighbors described him as deeply unpleasant, miserly, and socially isolated.
Scrooge,
Not a
got
good
it.
combo. Not a good combo at all. Andreas was also tied to an even darker element of the family's history, an incestuous and abusive
I knew you
relationship
were going
with
to
his
say that.
daughter, Victoria.
I knew you were going to say that.
Yep. Victoria had married young, her husband Carl, leaving to fight in the First World War, and like I said earlier, was killed in France in 1914, leaving her a widow with her daughter Cece, which Cece was his. And then for years, Victoria remained without a new partner. But in 1919, a second child was born, Joseph.
Disgusting.
His existence raised questions that quickly gave way to scandal when authorities determined the child's father was not an unknown suitor, but Andreas himself. Both Andreas and Victoria were convicted in court for incest, making their family secret a matter of public record. This revelation cast a long shadow over the household. Joseph was simultaneously Victoria's son and her half-brother, and the entire town knew of his parentage. The shame and stigma surrounding this was immense. Neighbors later recalled that the Grubers were already regarded with suspicion and distaste, But after Joseph's birth, they were shunned by the community. So, not good. Not good.
Oh, that's
But the
gross.
family, it doesn't stop there. The family's history was further marked by cruelty. Cecilia, Andreas' wife, had originally been the farm's owner, and when she married him, the property passed into his name. Together, they had 3 children, though only Victoria survived into adulthood. Rumors persisted that the deaths of the other children may not have been solely due to illness or misfortune. Neighbors spoke of abuse within the household, recalling how the Grubers would confine their children to the cellar for long periods of time. On some occasions, those passing by reported hearing the children crying from behind the closed doors.
Was Victoria the youngest then?
I don't know if she was the youngest, but she's the only one that lived.
Survived.
Yeah.
If that's
Probably because he liked
true,
her.
oh, that's so disgusting.
Yep. Scumbag.
I knew you were gonna go there.
Mm-hmm. Unfortunately.
If this is true, that's just I don't even know what to say.
Yeah.
What can you say other than
Ew.
yeah, it's disgusting, and now we know the real victim.
Yep. It was clear that Hinterkaifeck was a home full of dysfunction, secrecy, and abuse. In this environment, Victoria attempted to find something different for herself. After the death of her husband, she grew closer to Lorenz, the farmer from the neighboring property, the one that found their bodies. A relationship of sorts developed between them, one that neighbors noted was unusually bold for a woman of her time. Victoria had approached Lorenz directly, visiting his farm and speaking openly with him. In the months that followed, their association deepened, leading to speculation that Joseph may not have been Andreas' son after all, but maybe Lorenz's son. Which this was never
confirmed or denied.
Yeah, I couldn't find anything about that.
Too bad they didn't have DNA tests back then.
I know. And if they hadn't screwed things up so badly, they could probably do it now.
And maybe if Lorenz was the father, maybe her father was covering it up, because no child of mine will be whatever you want to call her, a bastard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a twisted web.
I like how you say woman of her time. I'm like, she was still human.
Exactly.
What does it matter? She had needs. She was human. Look at her. Apparently, her family is.
Yeah, but he was married, so.
Well, you didn't add that in there.
Lorenz, I say that in a minute, but
okay,
still, she's at least for a time.
She's still a human being. Doesn't matter, woman of her time or not. Having an affair or not.
Look what she was dealing with at home.
Well, she probably didn't drive. She probably didn't go anywhere. She was isolated. I mean, I don't condone affairs, but I can see why she found comfort in somebody else.
Yeah, and
that
she
was
probably
close by.
There was probably a degree of safety that she felt too. I mean, considering she was being abused and whatever else at home she was being forced to do. I mean, when you're isolated like that, you probably don't feel like you have a choice. And if you can't overpower whoever's doing this to you, you probably don't have much of a choice in it. I don't care if she was 35 years old, you know?
No.
Unless it had been going on for her whole life, probably.
Well, if she's 35 years old, that's also mean like that's all she knows.
Yeah.
Up to that point.
Yeah, because it probably started super young. And who knows what he was doing with little Cece.
I was just about to say that.
Ugh. So this possibility only added to the layers of tension surrounding the family. Lorenz would later play a central role in the discovery of the murders, but at the time, his connection to Victoria created both opportunity and motive. Whether as a protector, a rejected suitor, or a man implicated in the family's scandals. At the time of their courtship, Lorenz was already married. He initially rejected Victoria's advances, allegedly.
Yeah, I was going to say, so he says.
But when his wife passed away several years later, and how did she die? I want to know. The relationship resumed, because that seems awfully convenient. I don't know. It seems weird to me. Though it never resulted in marriage, there are several aspects of this relationship that drew the attention of investigators. Victoria confided in Lawrence about the abuse she endured at the hands of her father. She explained that the incestuous relationship had begun shortly after her husband's death. Really? I doubt that. By the time she became pregnant again, both she and Lawrence were aware that Andreas was the father of the child, allegedly. Victoria did not want this fact widely known, and she pleaded with Lawrence to take legal responsibility for Joseph by declaring himself the father. This required filing official paperwork and came at a significant financial cost. To fund it, Victoria took money from the family's hidden savings, but this eventually led to conflict between Lawrence and Andreas. Surprise, surprise. Their falling out culminated in Lawrence revealing the truth about the abuse to authorities, leading to the convictions of both Andreas and Victoria for incest. So that backfired big time. Despite the legal judgment, Andreas was neither imprisoned nor removed from the house. Because I guess it was just okay.
Back then.
What a scumbag.
Which, in honesty, it could have been either or.
Yeah. And then
the father.
And to make matters worse, the fact that she was shunned for this. It was not her fault. She didn't have a choice in this. At least not in my opinion.
I think I have to agree with you on that one.
Yeah.
Again, I don't condone affairs. But I think it's a little more gray.
I think so too. So once investigators uncovered this history, Lawrence quickly became a person of interest. Not surprisingly so.
No.
His connection to the family, particularly to Victoria and Joseph, was undeniable. His behavior during the discovery of the bodies also raised suspicion, which I could see this both ways. We'll get to it, but I'm like, I don't know about this one.
But he never remarried, right?
He never remarried.
So he was single at the time of the murders.
Yes. Okay. When he and the two neighbors approached the property after the family had gone missing, Lawrence chose to break down the door of the barn, claiming he had heard noises inside, which he probably did. What struck investigators as strange was that Lawrence already had a key to the farmhouse, the only one known to exist outside of the immediate family. If he truly believed the family was still alive, why damage property when he had the means to enter lawfully? I can see why. You think somebody's in danger, you're not going to go get your key. You're going to freaking open the damn door, you know?
Now, it would be weird if he had the key on him.
I suppose, yeah.
But I see if he didn't have it on, he thought someone was in danger. I can definitely see you like react like fight or flight is your adrenaline kicks in, grab something, knock down the door.
Especially because he has romantic ties to Victoria, so he probably, and to Joseph, really, to the baby, in a way, even if whether it was his or not.
Yeah, but if he was truly in love with Victoria, wouldn't he just murder the father?
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, like if he showed up and was thinking that she needed rescued or whatever, I could see
damsel in distress.
Yeah, busting down the door to get to her. So witnesses also describe Lawrence's actions after the bodies were discovered, while his companions hesitated to search the farmhouse, fearing the killer might still be inside. I didn't think about this. Lawrence insisted on going in. He reportedly declared, quote, "I'm going to find my son," end quote, referring to Joseph. But I mean, again, it's like, if that's exactly what he was thinking or how he was feeling, if it was me, I wouldn't be thinking about whether or not there was a killer in there or not. If my son was in there and I had any inkling or thought that he could still be alive, all of my fear would go out the window.
I
I would
mean,
be
I don't
like
have kids,
beelining.
but to be fair, if that was my dog in there and I thought someone was hurting my dog, I
Hmm.
would still do the same thing.
Yeah, so I can see both sides here. Like, was it really him being like, I know that there's nobody in there because it was me, so I have nothing to fear when I go in? Because that's what people say later on. But to me, it's just he was terrified and he wanted to see if there was anybody he could save. That's how it seems to me.
I get it.
Yeah. His urgency and lack of concern for personal safety suggested to some that he already knew what he would or would not find inside. Suspicion deepened further when police interviewed Lauren's own sons. They stated that their father had not returned home on the night of the murders. Lawrence explained this by claiming he had been working late and chose to sleep in his barn, which is a little sus.
Mm-hmm.
The absence of a stronger alibi did little to help his case. From these facts, investigators constructed a theory. On the night before the murders, Lawrence may have argued with Victoria, causing her to flee the house in distress. The following day, he allegedly returned to the farm and asked to speak with her privately, leading her to the barn. There, whether in a moment of rage or by premeditated intent, he seized a mattock and killed her. One by one, the other family members were lured to the same spot where they met their same fate. I just think that sounds ridiculous.
No, because he would have done more than just a blow to the head.
Yeah. And the whole, like, why did they just get this idea in their head that he's luring them one by one? Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me.
And if there was evidence of someone living there, why would he live there?
Yeah. Especially if he's right next door. I mean, right next door is probably relative, but
Probably like walking a mile down the road for your
yeah.
nearest neighbor.
Yeah.
Or maybe Victoria could have been hiding him in the attic and that's where they hear noises, but he had a, I just, it's just not adding up in my
Mm-hmm.
head. Because if they got in a fight and he was upset with her, he would like take that thing and he would like blow after blow because you're in the, crime of passion. And then why would she kill his own son?
Yeah, to
I don't
me,
know.
it seems kind of execution style for back then. Like kind of the equivalent of Aziz the Disease, the Santa Claus guy, how he lined them up and shot them in the head. I
Yeah.
feel like it's kind of the equivalent to that, like a blow each to the head. It's like an execution style killing to all of them.
So you don't think he did it?
Lawrence,
Yeah.
I don't.
Okay.
Mm-mm. I do not. No, I think it was just unfortunate circumstances that made them point the finger at him. It just, I mean, I can see where he does look guilty in some ways, but I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think he was the one that did it. Especially, why would he kill everyone if that was the case? Like, why
That's
wouldn't
what
he just
I'm
kill
having trouble
Andreas?
with. That's what I'm having trouble with.
Yeah. It doesn't make, like, why would he kill her?
Why
Why
would
would
he
he kill
kill the maid?
Victoria? Yeah, and why would he kill the kids? So yeah, I don't see it. I don't see it. And to me, I feel like his actions when he discovered them are very genuine. Like he's charging in there, trying to figure out what the hell's going on. I don't know. Okay, so yeah, one by one, luring them in, blah, blah, blah. I just don't buy it. According to this theory, Lawrence later entered the house and killed the maid Maria, as well as the infant Joseph. But why?
That's also a
Why?
lot for one person.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're telling me that because he's a grandpa, it doesn't mean he wasn't strong. He didn't fight back. There was no
Mm-hmm.
defense wounds. I don't know.
Yeah. And he was in his he was in his nightie. The grandpa. Like he was in his underwear and shirt. Like he was either getting up and getting ready or getting ready for bed. So you can't tell me he went out to the barn like that. Like, I feel like somebody was in the house. I don't know. I want to see the crime scene. I want to see where the blood spatter is.
And they
Splatter.
never said who was killed first, like in the order.
I think that they thought that the two women were killed first. So Grandma Cecilia and Victoria, because they were still in their work clothes, and then they think that Andreas and Cece were next, and then the baby and the maid were last.
It's just bizarre.
Weekly bizarre.
I don't know. It's go on.
Oh, yeah. So, according to their theory, Lawrence later entered the house and killed the maid Maria as well as the infant Joseph. In the days that followed, he tended to the livestock and carried out the household chores, actions that could have been intended to disguise the family's absence or to buy himself time before suspicion inevitably fell on him. I think whoever did this did that.
I agree.
Obviously, they were buying themselves time. It's awfully bold, though, to stay there. Like, that's weird.
Especially
That's
if you're
weird.
drifting
Mm-hmm.
and not take the money and move on to the next place.
Yeah, like, why not take the money? When neighbors finally grew concerned, Lawrence took it upon himself to lead the search party, ensuring that he would be the one to, quote, discover the crime scene, which I don't think that's what he was doing at all. But that's just my
No,
opinion.
but people do that all the time where they act like this big hero. So
That's true.
that's not exactly weird to me.
Yeah, that is true. So this explanation neatly accounted for many of the puzzling details: the presence of someone living in the house after the murders, Lauren's decision to break into the barn despite having a key, his lack of fear when entering the farmhouse, and his fixation on Joseph. Yet despite its strengths, the theory had flaws. It did not convincingly explain why Lawrence would have felt compelled to kill the entire household, rather than solely Andreas, whose actions had been the root of the conflict. The brutality of murdering children and a maid seemed inconsistent with the notion of revenge or outrage.
Agree.
Nevertheless, the suspicion surrounding Lawrence was strong enough that he remained a central figure in the investigation for years, and it basically ruined his life. Some suggested that Lawrence's actions inside the house could be explained by bravery, which is what I think. Perhaps he simply wished to spare his companions the danger of encountering a potential killer. This remains a possibility, but the theory against him already felt weak. While it provided a clear motive through his complicated relationship with Victoria and Andreas, the rest of the scenario began to falter with further investigation. For one, Lawrence's alibi was questionable but not impossible. He claimed he had been sleeping in the barn the night of the murders. Investigators considered whether this was normal behavior for him, and neighbors confirmed that Lawrence occasionally did sleep in his barn after long days of work, which weakened the case against him. So it wasn't unusual behavior for him to do that. So I think it was just bad timing.
What also sounds like they focused so hard on this guy, they haven't really looked at other options because they're wasting their energy on Lawrence.
Yeah. Yeah, broaden your spectrum a little bit. The feud between Lawrence and Andreas was also not as straightforward as it first appeared. While their conflict had been bitter, accounts suggested that the matter had been settled months before the killings and that the two men were once again on civil terms. Neighbors in the area corroborated this, making it more difficult to believe that the dispute had reignited with such deadly consequences. Another problem was the practicality of the murders themselves. The theory required Lawrence to have killed Victoria in the barn and then somehow managed to lure 4 additional family members to the same spot one by one. 3, not 4, because there were 4 in total in the barn.
Gotcha.
My bad. I don't know why I put 4 there. One by one, without raising suspicion. Skeptics argued that this was implausible, yet others countered that it was not impossible. The Gruber family knew Lawrence well. If he had given each of them a convincing reason to come outside, perhaps claiming Victoria needed assistance or that there was a problem with the livestock, they may not have suspected anything. I don't know why they're so laser focused on this theory.
Because they don't have another one?
Yeah. Like, I mean, it's common sense to me that this probably didn't happen there and he drug them there to hide their bodies, whoever he is.
But the problem you can argue is, were there drag marks?
True. And it does seem like Cece was killed there. Not necessarily, though. Like, she still could have just been alive when he dragged her there, because that's where
I mean, he also could have carried her. She's little. She's 7 years old. He could have carried her. He could have carried the mom or the grandma. He could have carried Victoria, but I don't think.
Yeah, maybe Andreas was the first to die. Maybe he was out in the barn and then everybody else was in the house. I don't know.
Get rid of the biggest threat.
Yeah.
Because he's going to be a heavy guy. I don't think he would have been carried. I think he would have been dragged. And you said it was like snow at one point, right? Because there was like footprints in the snow or something.
I think at the point of the murders, things had already been thawed out for the most part. Like there was still snow like in the corners of the yard.
Well, I still think there would have been obviously where a body would have been dragged.
Yeah, because the ground would still be wet and, you know, from all the melting snow and everything. I guess, too, if you think about it, as far as them being lured one by one, I think why they're so laser focused on it is probably because there were so many of them. If one of them would have heard something happening, all of them would have, like, it would have been a lot more difficult to pull this off all at once. So I guess that does.
But you also said the grandma and then the Cece, the little girl, were fully clothed, right?
Grandma, Cecilia, and Victoria were fully clothed. Cece's mom, Victoria. And Cece was in her PJs and Grandpa was in his PJs. And then the maid in the house was still fully clothed and the baby was in the crib.
So maybe Grandma and Victoria were killed in the barn because they were fully clothed. So maybe they were doing something out there. And then if it was Lawrence or somebody they knew, maybe he ran in and was like, hey, I need your help. Or like, your daughter's in trouble, for him to go out in his underwear, basically. And then he got attacked. Like, and then came the maid and Cece and the little boy.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's so many different scenarios.
Yeah, there really are. There really are. It's a lot. It's a lot.
Whew, it's making my head hurt.
I know. Still, one piece of testimony cast serious doubt on Lauren's involvement. The 2 coffee sellers traveling through the area reported stopping at the Gruber farmhouse on the morning after the murders, but before the discovery of the bodies. And they knocked on the door and noticed that smoke was rising from the chimney. They also believed someone was tending the stove inside. If true, this meant the killer was still in the house at that moment. Crucially, the sellers went directly from the farm to Lauren's home. So based on that timeline, there was no way Lawrence could have been at the farmhouse and then beaten them back to his own property in time.
Right.
So there's that. I don't think it was Lawrence. This evidence, though circumstantial, suggests that someone else may have been involved. or that another perpetrator entirely had committed the crime. Combined with Lauren's demeanor during questioning, I guess he was very calm, cooperative, and even volunteered information about his feud with Andreas. And he does seem like an honest person because, I mean, he literally ended up selling out Victoria because of the whole Joseph thing. I don't think it was really his intention to do that, but when it came time for him to fess up and tell the truth, he did. So he seems like an honest man, I think. And if it's true that he turned her down while his wife was still alive. Like he seems like he's got values and morals that he stands by to me. I don't know. I could be wrong.
I don't know.
Who knows? You never know. I mean, some of the worst killers seem like that too. So,
Genuine.
Yep. But nonetheless, the suspicion against him began to weaken. Many investigators reasoned that if he had truly been guilty, he might have attempted to hide or downplay the conflict rather than bring it up himself.
True.
Ultimately, there was not enough evidence to convict Lawrence, and he was released. Despite his freedom, his reputation never fully recovered. For the rest of his life, Lawrence carried the stigma of being known as the supposed killer of Hinterkaifeck. Local gossip and public suspicion lingered, and he was forced to defend himself repeatedly in court, filing several lawsuits against those who openly accused him of murder. Sucks.
Especially if he really didn't do it.
Yeah. Once Lawrence was eliminated as the primary suspect, investigators were left with little else to pursue. Beyond a handful of arrests in the years that followed, none of which led to convictions, the case stagnated. Maybe if they wouldn't have been so laser focused right out the gate, they could have found somebody else. But
or everyone come trampling in the crime scene.
Yeah, that too. Shit, for all they know, the person that did this could have been trampling around in the crime scene afterwards, acting like, ooh, look at this, look what happened, and they were the ones to have done it. Who knows? I mean, that's what Brian Koberger did, kind of, like, after he killed those students, he went back. That happens a lot. Killers will go back to the crime scene after it's happened. They want to see what they did. So, beyond a handful of arrests, none of which led to convictions, the case stagnated. Still, the shocking nature of the crime, the unanswered questions, and the details of someone apparently living in the house after the murders ensured that the case remained alive in the public imagination. Over the decades, countless theories have been put forward, and modern researchers continue to revisit the story in hopes of uncovering the truth. Which I don't know if they're ever gonna. Among these, several theories stand out as particularly compelling, or at least strange. These range from suspects with personal vendettas to traveling killers passing through the countryside to the possibility of more than one murderer working together. Each new theory adds another layer of intrigue to this mystery. So the first major theory is often referred to as the unwelcome guest theory. In the weeks and months leading up to the murders, the Gruber family reported strange disturbances on the farm. Like I said, the unexplained footsteps, noises in the attic, keys going missing, all the weird sounds going on. When investigators searched, and the dents in the hay too, like somebody was sleeping there. When investigators searched the property after the murders, they found depressions in the hay. Got ahead of myself there. This suggests possibility of an unknown intruder secretly living on the farm. If this were the case, it would explain several of the mystery's most troubling details: the lack of forced entry, the sounds reported by the family before the murders, and the fact that the farm appeared to have been tended and meals eaten in the days after the killings. According to this theory, something on that particular night forced the hidden occupant to act. And like you said, maybe it was the maid.
Threw off the routine.
Yeah, I think you're onto something there. In an effort to avoid being exposed, the intruder killed them. And when the other family members went searching for their loved ones, they too were lured into the barn one by one. Because again, they cannot let go of that theory. This scenario feels logical on the surface, but there are problems with it. For example, it's difficult to understand why Cece and Andreas would have left the house separately while undressed for bed, which I completely agree. If they were responding to noises outside, why not go together or at least take the time to dress properly? And if they were forced outside at gunpoint, why did neither resist nor alert the others inside, particularly the maid or the infant?
Could
Which,
also be shot.
yeah. This one was weird to me. I feel like when we get to the end of all this, I feel like it's a combination of this and something else that I bring up in a minute. The absence of struggle remains one of the most perplexing aspects of the crime, which I think they were caught off guard somehow.
Especially
Whether
the
it's
the protector, quote, protector of the house in his underwear. Oh yeah, he was caught off guard.
yeah. Another theory suggests that the murders were the work of a vagrant or traveling salesman. This was a common suspicion in rural areas at the time, where transient laborers often passed through seeking work. However, this explanation quickly fell through. Despite a large sum of money being present in the home, nothing was taken, nor did anyone in the surrounding countryside report seeing strangers in the days before or after the murders. Several men fitting that description or the description of drifters were questioned, but all had solid alibis. I'm not buying that at all.
No,
They would
I'm
have
not
taken
either.
things. They wouldn't have hung around. Come
They would
on.
have
Like,
kept
how
their
dumb can
drifters.
you be?
They would have taken the money. They would have taken some. They wouldn't have time to stick around and feed the animals.
Mm-hmm.
They would have drifted on to the next.
Yeah, taking the
And
money and run.
if they were drifting, they probably would have killed another family.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they
So
wouldn't
I
have
don't buy
stopped
that
there.
theory. I don't buy that theory.
I don't either. And this one, I almost didn't even put in here because it's stupid, but I figured you might like a little of this. But this was, I only saw this in one place and it was like, what? Then comes perhaps the strangest of all the theories that the killer was none other than Victoria's deceased husband, Carl Gabriel. But not because he was a ghost.
Because he
Oh, no.
didn't die?
I think it's absolute. Like, what the hell kind of motive does this guy have?
Okay, the son wasn't his, but he wouldn't go and come back and kill his daughter.
Exactly. And his wife. Like,
This sounds
so I
like a
guess.
true crime or like horror movie where like you think someone's dead and they're not really dead.
And it had been 7 years since he died on the battlefield.
Maybe
But
like H.H.
locals.
Holmes. I had amnesia
Yeah.
and I just remembered where I came from. So I came here 7 years later.
And then left again.
Yeah. No,
I just
okay.
came, yeah. Some locals claim that his body had never been recovered and that he had once spoken of a desire to immigrate to the Soviet Union. From these two thin threads, the theory was spun. Carl had faked his death, evaded capture, returned in secret to Hinterkaifeck, hidden in the attic, and eventually slaughtered his family before disappearing again into Russia. Like, okay.
That's a conspiracy I cannot get on board with.
No, not in any way, shape, or form. I don't. That's silly.
And maybe he faked his own death, but doesn't mean he could have gone to another new life. Doesn't mean he's gonna come back, and that's probably the reason why he faked his death to get away from his family.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think he's going to be coming back if he faked his death.
And back then, there weren't many survivors in the war.
Yeah.
I don't think it was Carl.
This theory is ridiculous, and little evidence supports it. Thousands of soldiers' bodies were never recovered from the Western Front, so Carl's missing
That was
remains were not
normal.
unusual.
No,
Yeah.
that is normal.
Nor
Or
is there
was
proof.
normal.
Yeah. There wasn't proof that he ever returned to Bavaria. Still, the idea gained traction among some amateur investigators.
The
Despite its
rumor.
sensational appeal, most researchers dismissed the Carl Gabriel theory as implausible or just ridiculous.
Plus, if it's a small town, they're gonna be like, "Hey, does that guy look like Carl? Is that Carl? Like, should we tell like Victoria Carl
Coral!
stole up?" Yeah,
Coral!
walk by, it's Coral.
Oh, God.
Veto on that theory.
Yeah.
It's not Coral. Coral dead.
Coral is dead.
No, Walking Dead. Pun intended.
As official leads dwindled, some investigators turned to less conventional methods. In a reflection of the time period and the growing desperation of the inquiry, a psychic was brought in.
Jesus.
And she was known as Miss either Jew or J.U. It's just J.U. I don't know if it was J, those were initials, or if it was Jew. Yeah.
Okay.
The spiritualist was invited to walk through the farm and record her impressions. This is how desperate they are at this point. Her statements, however, yielded nothing of practical use. She described vague figures, a man with broad shoulders, another with dark, slicked black hair, and at one point, 3 men she claimed to see in a vision. She wandered the property, speaking of the maid, speaking as if conversing with the dead, and giving fragmented impressions of the events. But ultimately, shocking, her visions offered no leads. The psychic episode illustrates the degree to which the investigation had faltered. They had no other place to turn.
Plus, there was a lot of false spiritualists back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
It was a big scam way back in the day. And that's what Houdini did. He was here for debunking these spiritualists. Now, I believe in this stuff, and I'm not saying that everyone is, but it was a big scam that they were doing.
Yeah. You've been had. You've
So,
been had.
That's veto.
Mistakes were also made during the investigation.
No
After the
way.
autopsy, more than what we already know. Their autopsies were conducted. The heads of all 6 victims were removed and sent to Munich for study.
Jesus.
The preparation and transport of the skulls destroyed much of the physical evidence, and little was learned beyond confirming the obvious: the victims had died from blunt force trauma.
Well, you could have told that just by looking at them.
Yeah, like why are you taking their bodies apart when they were perfectly preserved? I don't understand this. During the bombing campaigns of the Second World War, these skulls were lost entirely, erasing any chance for later forensic analysis. Wouldn't you know? The bodies, though, were buried locally, though without their heads, while the maid Maria was laid to rest separately by her own family. Years later, the farmhouse itself was demolished, though in doing so, workers uncovered the murder weapon, a mattock hidden in a concealed compartment in the barn's hayloft.
Oh.
That is so creepy to me.
Oh, I don't like that at all.
No.
So he didn't.
Yeah, whoever this was did know this farm well enough. And they were staying there, it seems.
And again, rules out the gunpoint theory, because if he had a gun, he would just shot him.
Yeah, I thought that was weird.
It'd be so much easier than hitting someone on the head.
Mm-hmm. By then, public attention had shifted to larger historical events, and the investigation into Hinterkaifeck slipped into obscurity. The case was officially closed in 1995, that's a long time. But long before that, suspicion had already fallen upon one final set of suspects, the brothers Adolf and Anton Gump. And this is who I think did it. This is who I think. And this was another thing where I was a little bit confused with names based on different sources I was looking at. But I'll get there in a minute. It's just a little confusing to me. I think I may have sorted it out. If I'm wrong, don't come for me. The Gumps had been suspected as early as a week after the murders in 1922, but they were not located at the time, probably because they were laser focused on Lauren's.
Yeah.
And the investigation lost momentum. It wasn't until decades later that their names reemerged, thanks to a deathbed confession.
Oh.
On October 20th, 1941, nearly 20 years after the killings, a woman lay dying and summoned a pastor to her side, which at the time they couldn't remember her name, but they eventually figure out who it was.
Uh-huh.
And with her final strength, she confessed that her brothers had been responsible for the murders. She gave details about their motives and identities and instructed that the police be informed after her passing. But one thing after another in this story, man, in this case. The pastor who heard this confession wrote notes on a slip of paper, but chose not to go to authorities because of the sanctity of confession. He was upholding that. I think that was her confession, so he wasn't allowed to say. But I thought when it came to things like that and you have to go to authorities, I thought that was like,
I thought so too. I'm not
different.
religious or Catholic or anything, so I don't know. But I thought it was, if it's very, that's murder. So I would think so, but I don't know how that works.
Yeah. So yeah, instead he carried the secret with him, and I don't understand. He carried the secret with him, only mentioning it to a group of children during a religious class.
That's the people you tell?
Years later, those children, grown into adults, remembered the story and independently contacted the police, naming both the pastor and the account he had shared with them. Like, this just keeps getting weirder and weirder. So the
You're not
pastor
going
in
to wait.
question,
So you're not going to share a confession with the police, but you're going to share it with children?
yeah, like what's the context here? I want to know. Like what?
Because if a confession is private, it's between you and your priest.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so confused.
No clue. No clue. Why on earth that would come up? I don't know. Like, I can't even think of a reason why that would come up to children. I don't know. But the pastor in question was figured out. His name was, this is a little confusing because there are two Antons. And one was the priest, or the pastor, Anton Halber of Augsburg. Confirmed to investigators that the deathbed confession had indeed occurred, but he claimed to have forgotten the name of the woman as well as the details she had provided. Sus.
You're not a very good pastor.
He had also lost the slip of paper in which he had recorded her words.
Shocker.
Weird. Despite this, investigators were able to identify a likely match, and I couldn't figure out how they came to this conclusion, but the woman's name was Crescens. Sorry. Meyer. But her maiden name was Gump, which made her the brother or the sister of
gotcha.
Anton and Adolf Gump. And this is where I'm like, who is this chick? So I was trying to figure out who she was. And I'm pretty sure she was the maid, the first maid that left a few months before. And these brothers lived nearby. So, like, the more I was putting together, I'm like, this could very well be who did this.
I mean, that makes sense.
Because, I mean, she had inside information. She knew everything that was going on in that house in Hinterkaifeck. And
But
I'll continue on.
and that would have been like their meet cute of how they would have known about the family.
And just think about it. Like, she left months before. Things started happening months before.
Do you think
But
she knew at that time?
Personally, I think so. I didn't see anything that said this. But this
Okay.
is where, like, I kind of went rogue on my theory. I mean, a lot of people think that the brothers did this. Clearly, I think so too. But I think that the maid, Crescens, or whatever, however you pronounce her name, might have had something to do with this. The timing is strange to me. She leaves, they start hanging out in the barn and like observing routines and whatever the hell else they're doing. And then the day that a new maid comes in, they're like, it's go time. We gotta do this. And I'll get to why, like, what their motive could have possibly been.
Okay.
So I've been talking so much, I'm out of coffee. Okay. So this account was corroborated in part by another pastor, August Riesel, who was gravely ill when contacted by the police. When asked about the name Gump, he weakly nodded in recognition. Though he could provide no full statement, his acknowledgement gave weight to the suspicions. Adolf Gump had died by this time, but Anton was still alive. A judge issued a warrant for his arrest, and a manhunt followed. After several months, Anton was located in Ingolstadt, a city not far from Hinterkaifeck, and brought in for questioning. In 1922, Anton Gump had been living with his brother Adolf at a property located several miles from Hinterkaifeck farmstead. Records from the time confirm his presence in Adolf's household, while Adolf himself was connected to a separate criminal investigation. He was suspected of being part of a small, loosely organized group that was known to target isolated farmers. Although their activities were never formally tied to political movements, the group's history included at least one orchestrated murder, and Adolf's involvement, while unproven, was widely discussed. Anton was not a documented member of this group, but given his close living arrangements with Adolf during this period, his association with them is likely. So to me, it sounds like this is like a group of vigilantes of a sort.
Yeah. That's how I'm taking it.
Or at least they thought they were. So when Anton was eventually brought in for questioning, investigators presented him with a considerable amount of circumstantial evidence. Much of it could be explained away, but the sheer volume of connections raised suspicion. His employer's records offered no clarity. There was no record of Anton's presence or absence on the days surrounding the murders. This absence of documentation might have provided either an alibi or evidence of guilt. There was no record of his presence or absence in the days surrounding the murders. This absence of documentation might have provided either an alibi or evidence of guilt, but instead it left investigators with uncertainty. Later, research has shown that the company was engaged in a workers' strike during this period, meaning Anton was not at work at the time of the murders. The most troubling piece of evidence came from Anton's time in custody. While awaiting interrogation, he allegedly made a comment to a fellow prisoner stating, quote, "and all because of the child," unquote.
What?
Yeah, so see, this whole vigilante thing starts to make sense. They had a problem with this incestual relationship and felt like they needed to take matters into their own hands, is what it seems like to me.
It's not the kid's fault.
Exactly. But I think maybe in their minds, it's like wipe the whole disgusting family off the map, you know?
Again, not the maid's fault.
Yeah. When confronted with this remark, Anton first responded as if annoyed, then fell silent and refused to answer further questions for several minutes. Investigators speculated that the child he referred to may have been Joseph, the youngest member of the Gruber family, whose paternity was the subject of much rumor. Some believed Anton may have considered himself Joseph's father, though this theory was weak and never proven.
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. I think Victoria had her hands full enough with her father and Lauren's.
Yeah.
The difficulty in building a case lay in the lack of motive and the absence of direct evidence. The circumstantial details suggested involvement, but without a clear link tying Anton or Adolf to the Gruber family or a proven reason for them to commit the murders, the case against them weakened. And after only 3 days in custody, Anton was released due to insufficient evidence. The investigation continued for 2 more years, but ultimately yielded nothing conclusive. In 1955, the inquiry was officially closed. For decades, the case remained dormant until 2006, when a final potential clue surfaced. It came in the form of a death notice, one of several originally printed to mark the murders in 1922. This particular copy was unusual because it was covered with handwritten notes. Sound familiar?
Yeah.
The writing was not in standard German, but in Gabelsberger shorthand, a script once used by clerics and scholars. Most of the writing had faded beyond recognition, but a few phrases were deciphered. Quote, God's punishment, 1 year, and incest. The discovery led some researchers to revisit earlier evidence, particularly the missing slip of paper once held by a member of the clergy who had received a woman's deathbed confession. The woman believed to have been Cresens, who accused her brothers Anton and Adolf of committing the Hinterkaifeck murders. I still cannot believe that priest or pastor didn't do anything about that. It just blows
He
my
did.
mind.
He told the kids.
Yeah, he told the kids.
He told the kids.
Oh my gosh. So the pastor who recorded the confession later claimed he had misplaced the note and forgotten her name, but his testimony was partially corroborated by another clergyman who recalled the name Gump. When considered together, Anton's cryptic statement and, quote, and all because of the child, unquote, and the shorthand notes referencing incest, the confession implicating the brothers form a pattern that suggests a motive rooted in the family's scandalous reputation. If Joseph was indeed seen as the product of incest, whether true or not, the Gump brothers may have believed themselves justified in eradicating the family. Yet the question remains, if the alleged motive was centered on Andreas, why were all 6 members killed, including the children and the maid? The scale and brutality of the crime suggests either a calculated effort to eliminate all witnesses or a frenzy of violence that extended beyond any single intended victim, which is what I think happened. I mean, I think they were just eliminating what they thought was not like sacred or not
maybe
clean.
they were just trying to take out the line of the family.
Yeah.
But I don't know why kill the maid. I think she was just at the wrong place at the wrong time and as a witness.
I think so too. And I still think that the other maid may have had a part to play in this.
Well, if she didn't, it seems like she obviously knew about it, and maybe it was later
Mhm.
on that she took it literally to her deathbed, and that's when you usually make a confession that you don't bring it with you after death.
Yeah. And like maybe her brothers had already come to this conclusion when she left, and that's why she left when she did. Because they started hanging around, and
That's also true.
like she's like, I'm not going to stick around for this. And it just took them months to prepare, or like build up the courage or whatever before they actually followed through with it.
Maybe they actually saw themselves as vigilantes.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like this theory is the most likely. I don't know.
That's the one I'm leaning toward.
Yeah. So, in the end, the case against the Gump brothers remained unproven. Without concrete evidence, the investigation could not advance, and the truth behind Hinterkaifeck was lost to history. Today, the murders remain one of Germany's most enduring unsolved crimes, with four leading theories: Lorenz, the unknown vagrant or drifter, which I think is crap, the unidentified residents who may have hidden in the home, and finally, the Gump brothers. Or
Coral.
Coral. Each theory carries its own weight, but none have been proven beyond doubt. And that, my friends, is the Hinterkaifeck murders. What do you think? Do you think that Coral did it?
I mean, that would like, I don't know. That would be the craziest story of all time.
I just feel like the brothers, the Adolf and Anton, are the only ones that really fit the scope of the crime. Like, I feel like if Carl had done it, it would be he would have a target, and it would have been Andreas. And same with Lawrence. I feel like if Lawrence would have done it, he would have had the same target, Andreas. Like I don't see either one of them taking out
There's
the entire
not,
family.
it's not a good enough motive
Yeah.
for it to be Lawrence or Coral. The Gump, the Gump brothers, after listening to what you've put out there, it makes the most sense to me
Yeah.
because clearly money wasn't the motive.
Exactly. They had another motive, which was eradicate, like get rid of this bloodline. It's
And
tainted.
they all killed, including the maid, the whole entire family, the exact same way, except for the little boy who would have been the incestuous bastard child, basically.
Yeah.
So he got the most brutalized in
Yeah.
this murder story. So, like, that was their target, maybe, to put it into it. So, like, that makes sense to me.
And I wonder too if because the little girl died horrifically, I wonder if they thought that maybe she was a product of the same incest, you know? And like maybe because they
It's
didn't,
possible. Maybe they knew she was alive and they're like, well, we're just going to let you die out.
which is so terrible. Or maybe they just didn't know she was dead or wasn't dead. Like maybe it knocked her out initially and then she came to or something, which, oh my gosh. Can't imagine. That's so
No.
terrible.
And you
Can't
lay
imagine.
there for your last hours, like just suffering. Your family's dead.
Yeah. Poor little thing. So
I
this
think
was a
it's
dark
them.
one. This was a dark one this week.
Well, you had a
But
lot of trigger warnings on this one.
yeah. But I have talked so much, I don't think I can do the outro.
I'll do the outro.
We had to take a break just so I could finish up because my voice was failing me.
Well, if you made it this far, true champs, who do you think did it?
Yeah.
Especially if it was Carl. It's just sorry. Whoever created that conspiracy is just hilarious.
I know. Really grasping at straws on that one.
Oh, it's Carl from The Walking Dead. He came back as a zombie and did it. All right. Anyway. Well, we truly appreciate the support. and we still see numbers on our social media growing, and we truly appreciate it. It means the world to us, and we get very excited about it.
Me
You can.
too.
I said that's why I said we,
Oh,
and
sorry. Yes, we.
we do get very excited about it. You can follow us on all the social medias at Weekly Bizarre Podcast. You can email us with theories at weeklybizarrepodcast@gmail.com. You can support us on Patreon at patreon.com/weeklybizarre. It's only $5 a month, and it does really help us. And I think that's it.
You did good.
If it's weird,
we're going to talk about it.
bye.
Coral.